Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode. I am Michael Petrow, and joining me on the show are debaters Rob Strachan, Mark Cowell, and Martin Navarro. We are gathering for some masturbation for you this week, ladies and gentlemen. What are we talking about? Well, we start off our weekly watch list with a little-known series that just happened to launch like a week or two ago. Maybe you've heard of it. It's called Squid Games. I don't know. Everybody on the planet with a TV's seen it, apparently. We also go into the Many Saints of Newark, the Tony Soprano prequel to everything Sopranos. I go over my love of Jeff Probst with Survivor, and Rob regales us with his weekly watch list with his daughter Lucy, and they watch The Last Unicorn, the late 80s, early 90s animated classic, which I completely forgot about until Rob brought it up. Then we dip into one of our favorite topics, specifically Jimmy Skinner's favorite topic. This is his favorite month, ladies and gentlemen. As is ours, it is the month of Halloween, so what else do you talk about but horror movies? So we kick off this show with what horror movie needs to be a series on TV? What do you want to bite into more? What do you want 10 episodes of? Then we go into what's the scariest movie that's not considered a horror, that just freaks you the fuck out, along with our personal suggestions, what we love to watch over the month of October, and tons more that if I tell you about right now, you'll just stop listening because you've listened to me explain it. So that's who's on the show. That's what's on the show. Some housekeeping. If you've missed an episode or two, we've moved sites. We are no longer with Castos. We are now part of the Captivate podcast family. It's fucking amazing. They are curating a ton of stuff coming down the line that we can't wait to tell you about. Specifically, I think this is the last time we're going to make a website. I really do. I know I've said that many times. I've told you about a ton of things over the last 2 years, but this is definitely it. I think we're concrete. We're going to have a home for ourselves. We're not going anywhere. No one's going to buy us out. It's pretty cool, actually. I'm looking forward to it. So Mark at Captivate, thank you for making the switch so fucking easy. We'll let you guys know when that website's up and running. Second to that, me and Jimmy and whoever else decides to come from the show, we'll be at Comic-Con in Winnipeg this year. 2021 Comic-Con, the weekend of the 29th to the 31st at the Winnipeg Convention Center. If you see two idiots running around with big grins on their faces, handing out swag wearing Reel Debaters shirts, come over and say hello. We'd love to talk to you about your favorite movies, TV shows, comic books. If you're cosplaying, what goes into your costume. We want to share the world with you guys. And we'll put it on our TikTok page. We'll put it on our Instagram page. We'll put it out there for the world. So if you're interested in talking to two idiots from a local Winnipeg podcast, come over and say hello. So that's it for housekeeping. That's it for the show notes. Yeah, that's about it. If you're new, this is your first time, stick around for a couple of seconds. I got something to say to you. But if you've done this dance 116 times before, carry on to the proverbial movie theater. If you've pressed play for the first time, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. It means a lot to us yokels here in the middle of Canada, trying to make a name for ourselves in the over 1 million podcasts that exist already. We're trying to put some light on our show. So thank you very much for pressing play and giving us a chance. If you decide that you want to support the Debaters universe and be a part of it, the easiest way to do so is subscribe in your podcast player so we show up every Wednesday. It's cheap, it's free, and it's easy. All you got to do is press one button. But if you're so inclined to spend some money, donate to our cause. There are two tabs in the show notes. One is our prop shop where you can buy all our merch. The other one is our donation tab where you can throw pocket change at us. And that's all we're asking for. $1, $2 goes a long way, covers the production costs of the show, makes it free, cheap, and easy. You guys get to be a co-executive producer. And if you donate, there's a couple interactive ways to do so. We'll be alerted. We'll contact you and let you know how you can play along in our silly, stupid, bullshit-filled world here. And yeah, that's how you can be a part of it. We'd love to hear from you. If you're from Winnipeg and the surrounding area, or you're from Canada in that matter, or you're from Russia, because we've seen a couple downloads come from there, you can email the show at thereeldebaters@gmail.com. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Tell us who you like, and I'll make sure it gets passed on to your favorite cast member. I think that's about it for that. The top 10 list. It's a new top 10 list, ladies and gentlemen. Being new, we love to celebrate all the places that we all of a sudden just notice. It's really cool of you to start listening to us and talking about us and sharing the word around the water cooler, or just saying these guys are fucking morons, go laugh at them. Either way, somebody somewhere is saying something. So these are the top 10 places that are doing that. Number 10, Chicago, Illinois. 9, Lafayette, Louisiana. 8, New York, New York. First time we've seen any of you guys from there. So hello. And thank you. On to Canada, Scarborough, Ontario, Melita, Manitoba, Calgary, Alberta, Toronto, Ontario, Edmonton, Alberta, Lockport, Manitoba, and number 1, our hometown, Winnipeg, Manitoba. We love everybody that listens here, first-timer or long-standing fan. Either way, it means a lot to us. But thank you for lifting up the show and letting people know you should go listen to these idiots because they're fun, they're silly, and they love movies. I have nothing else for you. You've probably already skipped, which is totally fine. So here it is. I will cue the reel. and you enjoy.
Let's tidy up this tangle of film by putting it on a reel. Here is a motion picture film, 1,000 feet, 16,000 separate photographs.
Welcome, everyone, to the official space section of the chart.
The truth! You can't handle the truth!
Sir, you're out of order. Out of order? I show you out of order.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Reel Debaters production. I am Michael Petrow.
I'm Rob Strachan.
Mark Cowell.
And in Vancouver,
Venom from the last show. What I got written down.
Martin's been changing his screen name every episode.
Oh.
And we don't know why, but now. Did you see it?
What does it say?
Is that what it's...
No, I didn't. I'll talk about something else. I did see a movie last night, though, but I'll talk about it.
Okay, well, let's start with you then for what did you watch? What did you go see?
I watched The Many Saints of Newark.
Oh! Okay, me and Jimmy are going on Monday. What are we in for?
I won't want to spoil anything if you haven't seen it, but the one thing I'll talk about what I liked about the movie.
Okay.
I like the casting. The casting I thought was really well done. You get to see a lot of the main characters from the show recast as their younger selves, which was really good. They acted out the characters really well, which is what I liked. Couple things I didn't like. I just felt that the story wasn't as. It felt like an episode, like they put one season into an entire movie. Is what they did. They kind of felt like they patched a bunch of things together.
It felt rushed.
It felt rushed, and it felt like the story really wasn't given a proper direction, because I think if you did it throughout an entire season, you would have had more time to flesh out the things that they wanted to flesh out, but it did felt rushed and patched together.
Who played Tony Soprano?
His son.
Michael.
Oh, it was his son.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Michael Gandolfini, yeah.
So
Boy, does he look like him.
He looks
Wait,
like him too. It's really good.
Does he sound like him? Because the shots in the trailer have him like, he's got that like kind of lispy New Jersey thing going on when he talks. Does he nail it?
Yeah, really well done. That's what I said. The casting for this was really good.
I was wondering if they almost like CGI'd them a bit to make them look more, but knowing that that's his son, that makes sense. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a pretty, I mean, that's a pretty big set of shoes to fill,
Whoa.
right? Like, not
No
only
kidding.
is it a fucking iconic HBO role, it's your dad,
Yeah.
right?
Mr. Gandolfini.
And he really did go out on top. Like,
He did.
you know, that's
Yep.
unfortunately with the, actors that pass away too early, is that he didn't have time to fizzle out into
Yeah, like, what's
Clint
the saying?
Clint Eastwood-dom.
Clint Eastwood.
He didn't get to
Just
become
get more
a
senile.
recluse
Yeah.
yelling at a chair
Yeah.
at the RNC convention.
Fucking sags like Clint Eastwood. If you keep working, you're not going to get more benefits. Like, you've maxed your benefits, man. Quit while you're fucking ahead. Okay, so the guy who plays Dicky Moltisanti, Alessandro Nivola, he's the guy. He's the brother in Face Off. He's Nicolas Cage.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
He's
Yeah.
also in
Oh, what the fuck's his name?
Alessandro Nivola, but the brother of are you talking about the brother in Face
Yeah.
Off? What's Nicolas Cage's character's name? in
No,
Face Off?
but
It's-
that's his
Troy,
name.
Castor Troy.
Yeah, Pollux Troy.
Pollux Troy is Alessandro
Oh, yeah, okay.
Nivola. He's also the guy who stole the pterodactyl eggs in Jurassic Park 3.
Oh, that's right. He was. Yeah.
But now
Oh yeah.
he's in this, and just the trailer, like, did he deliver, Martin? Because that's what I'm really hoping for, because taking it back to when these guys were younger and bringing it up, I heard a rumor that David Chase doesn't know how to end anything. We already know that from the series. Does that happen in this movie? Is that
Like I said, it felt kind of rushed. So the one thing was the story had no real direction. Like it said, patched together. I think the acting was good enough. I don't know. I just wasn't a big fan of the story. It just never went anywhere for me. And I think I watched it with a buddy, and he agreed. We were just like, it just felt like rushed, patched together. There was no direction.
Were you wanting it to be kind of like a coming of age gangster story?
That's what I wanted. I wanted to see them at their prime, and then giving more of that lifestyle.
Is Ray Liotta in this?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Who does he play?
He's in it twice. He plays two characters. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say.
Is it like where is this taking place in the realm of the Sopranos? Like, how pre-Sopranos are we?
So it takes place in two time periods, the 60s and the 70s.
So when they're like teenagers, and then when they're like in their like 20s.
Well, all the gangsters are like they're all in their 20s now. So I guess it's like a lot of the like you see the people Tony came up with, they're still kids, but then the generation before them, like Polly, he's like in his 20s.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, like I'm
Too bad that it didn't really satisfy though, like you had hoped.
I mean, it still had good parts that I liked. If you're a Sopranos fan, there's a lot of good like Easter egg gems from the show. That's funny and good. But yeah, I wasn't. I don't know what I was hoping for. I think I was hoping a little bit more. But I mean, for you know, a kind of a prequel movie to a series that was one of the best series I think of all time. It's not bad. I didn't hate it.
I think
I'd see it again in streaming service when it comes out.
I gotta feel that some of the reason that we loved this series is exactly what you were saying, Martin, is that it had a lot of time to flesh out the characters and us to like learn. I mean, that's what it was all about, really. Us seeing behind the scenes of Tony in therapy and how it's
Totally
juxtaposed
yeah.
against his mob self, and you can't do that in a movie.
You have a limited amount of time, and that was what I was kind of worried about. That you're bringing this up is that you get a whole season of Tony's mental health. You get a whole season of Tony's temper. You get a whole season of learning about the double cross that's taking place in the family. Like there's so much
Of ducks.
ducks. Yeah, the fucking ducks got like 4 episodes, but
And then they came back. Oh, what I was thinking too, as well with the movie, I'm like, well, what if the point of the movie was you can't, because Dickie Moltisanti is like a legend in the show, right? They just talk about him as if he's like pretty much the guy. So what if like the whole point of the movie was to just show you that legends don't really live up to the standard that you thought they would live to?
okay.
Oh.
I think that's the point the movie was trying to make at the end. But like I said, it was too rushed. If they had a little more time, maybe did it into a series, I thought it would be maybe would have been fleshed out better.
Martin, how long is it?
Around 2 hours, I want to say.
That's not long enough.
Isn't this the problem we're having now with so many amazing series? Is that a movie just doesn't seem long enough to tell a story anymore?
Well, not 2 hours. Like a movie of this type of scope with that amount of characters and that expectation of lining it up against, a 7-season, 13-episode run,
All years later,
right? It needs to be at least 2.5 to 3 hours. And if you don't expect that your audience is going to have that kind of staying power, like this isn't the fucking Irishman that's like closing on 4 hours and has like terrible CGI. It wasn't even terrible CGI,
He
but
still
it just
kicks like an old man.
like you know what I mean. Like at least in this situation, they actually properly cast guys that look like them and act like them and kind of carry themselves to replicate that younger selves as opposed to trying to use CGI to do it.
Yeah.
Imagine they had tried to take Gandolfini and just create a younger self with
don't make
CGI
me
animation.
fucking puke. Oh, that. It's great to see and it's fun and all, and you're like, great, that's where we are now with this. But like, that takes.
It's not like it's the necessity of a Star Wars movie where you're like, we need Admiral
Akbar.
or whatever.
It's a trap.
You need, or you've got to take somebody that's happened to pass away too soon,
Yeah.
just to fill them in because they need to be in that scene. That I understand.
Grand Moff
right?
Tarkin.
Right? Thank you. That's who.
Okay, that's
what
who
I
you were
meant.
talking about. All right.
Yeah.
No. Okay. So, Dickie Moltisanti. Yeah, because I had read a little bit, Martin, that's where it was starting, and I kind of had a feeling that it was like this is the old guard teaching the new guard stuff, and you get to see.
Well, yeah, it is the Dickie Moltisanti story. He's like the main character, and that's who, I guess, the whole arc is based around it, or the whole point of the story. But no, it's good to see him as he is and what he did for for their thing. I thought that was pretty cool, and then the relationship he has with Tony, because Tony was his he was Tony's mentor basically growing up.
Yeah,
So who should go see this movie? Should we all? There's a pass for anybody?
I mean, if you're a fan, I would still see it. I was a huge Sopranos fan. I love gangster movies, so I mean, it's still, like I said, I didn't hate it, and I wasn't in love with it. So it's kind of like, it's a mid-grade for me.
Is there a strip club called Bada Bing in it?
Fill us in, Mart.
I'll just say this: you'll see some familiar landmarks for sure.
Okay.
When you watch the show.
I bet you the sausage shop is in it. It's got to be. Fucking butcher shop. I mean, that's where they held court. So if it's not in it, I'll be slightly disappointed. How many bada bings out of 10?
I'll give it maybe a 6.5 to 7 in between there.
Ooh.
Maybe like a 6.8 bada bings. I couldn't give it that last full bada bing.
It's coming from a fan, so that's
Yes.
I don't, Martin.
So this is basically don't go see it in the theater.
yikes. All right, so who's next?
I'll go. I've had a lovely week of media. Survivor with Jeff Probst is back, ladies and gentlemen.
Say
If you're-
what?
Say
How
what?
many seasons is this now?
41.
Holy-
Wow.
The correct answer was too fucking many.
Hey, man, America's favorite science project. Come on, I can't get enough of that.
Isn't
shit.
that The Bachelor?
No, The Bachelor is America's favorite train wreck.
I thought it was Big Brother.
No, that's America's
I
favorite.
thought it was
orgy.
Average Joe.
I don't know what America's favorite that is. I ran out of room. I don't have enough arm for that. We were shocked because me and Shauna downloaded Survivor Australia to make up because we knew that around this time it's coming back and we're mourning. We're like, we have no Jeff. And then someone's like, Survivor's back, and I almost peed my pants and then ran downstairs and realized, yep, it's on Prime.
I only like
It's
Jeff
on our-
Probst in Rock and Roll Jeopardy.
Oh my God, you purist! Like 2 seasons he did of that shit. Come on now.
That's called Poking the Bear.
That is poking the bear, exactly. So they realized, I guess, that they may have been going a little long in the tooth, so they took it from 39 to 26 days, and they've broken.
What was the twist this season? Because you know how they usually have a twist every season.
So the big twist this season for all of you people out there, and there's only 2 episodes, so there's a lot of stuff that you can catch up on.
What was the twist?
The twist is that there's like 3 things.
There was weevils in the rice.
The twist is that you can play at home and be involved in the game and win money. There are in-game puzzles for the average Survivor watcher to enjoy. Also,
So that basically preoccupies all of us who are basically on our cell phones the whole time while watching TV.
Exactly. Like if they know you're on your cell phone, then they might as well give you something to play into the game. The other big twist is the
Battle to the death.
battle. Yes, yes.
I
This
wish.
is-
Could you imagine? That would make it so much better. So NBC, if you're listening, right? We want battle to the fucking death,
They just
and you can take people that basically have some type of terminal disease, and they sign their lives away. And this is going to segue into what we're going to talk about
100%. Great segue.
Right?
Yeah.
And because that's what fucking America wants to see. That's what America wants to see.
#1 on Netflix.
It is, and it's a long story short. Sorry, now I just want to talk about that. Long story short, Survivor is back, but the big twist is the 3 teams in the 26 days, right? So
No, 3 teams.
3 teams.
Oh.
They'll merge into the 3 teams will merge into 2, I think, next week, and then they'll merge into 1 after that.
Is there a theme for the teams or no?
No themes, no brains versus brawn, no light versus dark, no old versus young, like none of that stuff. It's just straight up.
They did light versus dark.
I don't know.
No
I
Democrat.
don't think the season.
They should totally do that.
I don't think the network would allow that.
And that's the fight to the death.
Want to talk about to the death? You've got
And
it.
That's basically proposing race wars.
Senator and 1
That
congressperson
sells
from
itself.
Yeah.
They got the red team, the blue team,
Right.
and then they eventually form the purple team.
They're
'cause they
basically
gotta
the
work
bloods.
together.
They're basically
meet
the
in the
bloods
middle
and the
of the
Crips,
war.
eh? They're basically the
Yeah.
bloods and the Crips.
Oh,
That-
this is interesting.
I think Jeff Probst, if you're listening, which we know you are, you should take these ideas.
Make sure
into
you
consideration.
tag
Oh, wait, it's
Rock
already-
and Roll Jeopardy because then that motherfucker
Yeah,
will
yeah,
see
yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's already happening in America with teams of 75 million.
Sorry. Yes. Yeah. My bad. It's internal fighting.
Enter the purge.
But it's great to see it back. They made a little it's been a while. We haven't talked to you.
That's
Glad
cool.
to see. So Survivor was a
Is
thing.
there big chubby naked guy?
Oh yeah.
You know, like
oh no, there's
hunting
no
for
Richard
fish?
Hatch. No. Naked.
Well, then I'm out.
Naked kind of stopped in the first iteration of Survivor because it was literally throwing people off and making people uncomfortable. And 3 or 4 seasons ago, there was some Me Too stuff that got onto the show that they dealt with very professionally, and it was the first time. It was the first time that you saw clips of production staff with contestants going because they wanted to show you how the game is played. And when this got out that this guy was a dick, they showed the clips of the women where they said, we have a problem with this guy. And you hear the producer going, tell me more. I want you to feel safe talking to me. Everything that you want done will be taken
Did they
care
show
of.
the comfy showers and beds that they actually sleep in?
Well, yeah.
Okay, everybody, your trailers.
all right.
They've tried so hard to keep that out of the game, but I think they realize now that people like that because
This is where the women shave their armpits.
well, like you don't get that shit until you get voted out. Once you get voted out, you go to the compound, and then it's like the Hyatt, fucking 5-star, right? It's the best place because it's a tropical island in Fiji. So you go from like no food.
Dude, I would just quit day 1 and just go hang out at the compound for 30 days.
Okay. See,
That's a free vacation, man.
That is a great idea, but I think the first 5 to 10 automatically go home, and then the jury starts getting picked. So if you last
The first 5 to
until
10 have to go wash dishes.
yeah, they become part of the production staff.
You got to
right?
make the jury for sure.
Yeah, you don't get to just. But I mean, fucking cardinal thinking, Martin. So yeah, it's just, and now that they have their own.
It sounds like Martin's theory with the fucking death race across the
That
country.
was.
Don't play.
I'll start and let everybody win. Be like, I'm fine. I don't have to play.
I'm alive and living good.
So Mike, how many the tribes have spoken do you give this season?
Are
Already
you gonna unite the tribes?
unite the clans. I would give. I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor lifer, man. It's 10 out of 10 for me every
Oh,
time.
jeez.
Ooh, he united the clans.
10 out of 10 every time?
Okay, hang on. The seasons might not be great. Like the problem is
Can we get somebody with an opinion that's not
Yeah,
confirmation
can we
bias?
extinguish Mike's
All right.
torch here
Yeah.
for a second?
You know, Mike, your statement right
Has the
there is
tribe
everything
spoken?
that's wrong with what's going on in the
no
media
immunity idol.
nowadays.
It's everything's. A
I
perfect
am
score.
such a big fan.
Yeah.
Every episode is 10 out of 10.
Shama shill. No, it's you. I will. Okay, I will say this. The contestants.
Is Jeff Probst hiding under Mike's body right now? He just unzips since it's Jeff Probst. Hi.
Mark Probst is in the
Hey, you
corner
crazy kids. Oh, can I pull off your mask?
there. Yeah. Okay, just to not give it a perfect score, like 8 to 9. This one's gonna be great. And like my pick is a guy named Nassar. So right now I'll call it. He's from Sri Lanka. He grew up in a village that had no running water, no electricity.
Oh, of course that guy's going to win.
No power, nothing. The toilet, hole in the ground. So there's this scene where like they're
Does he have an unfair advantage?
Yeah.
like,
Are,
oh, he totally
aren't they
does.
supposed to take like pampered, like people of privilege and throw them in these situations?
You would think so, but then you don't get a microcosm of a society, right? So you have to take.
Wouldn't you
different
consider?
people-
Just let me throw this out though.
Sure.
Wouldn't you consider like a quote unquote poor person that grew up in the United States, right?
Yeah.
In like an urban center.
Yeah.
Is still going to have much more privilege than this gentleman Nasser who grew up in Sri Lanka.
I don't disagree with you.
But
What
okay,
I'm
anyway,
just
go on.
saying for the show to work, if you pad it that way, then you're creating a narrative, right? But if you try to if they try to look at as much of a different population sample, right? Because Survivor's supposed to explore what happens when you take strangers and put them in a room together. So you have to take from different. You have to take old, young, LGBTQ, BIPOC. You have to take
What's
every
BIPOC?
brown, indigenous.
People of color.
Oh, I didn't.
right?
I've never heard that term before.
That's okay. So like, it works if you don't have these prissy people, but they do pick a prissy person to fuck with the group, right? If you take the
I like
person
it.
who's privileged and put them in with 3 or 4 people who are used to being in these situations, like Nassar, for example, then you get strife. Then you get the conflict
Yeah.
that you don't have to script, which is why it's #1 reality television. They don't script it. They just take the video that they get.
How many viewers do they get now?
I would imagine they're probably rough estimate maybe 20 million, 30 million a night.
What's the Vegas line on Nassar?
Fucking get me those numbers. Anyway, so
So it has an audience of about 1/40th of Squid Game. Okay.
sure, yeah, which is a perfect dovetail
What
to
is
I think
Squid Game?
what I think you two kind of bro downed over before the show. So how about we just throw what you watched to the other two guys in the room here? What the fuck what did Rob and Mark watch?
Is that when
So-
we order one calamari and spread it with the table and see who can eat the most?
Absolutely, absolutely. But
And
a lot of
go.
that'll depend on how good the tzatziki is. Yes.
This is a very true
So
statement.
before we talk about the
So but before we go into that, Survivor, episode 1, 6.25 million viewers. Episode 2, 5.90 million viewers.
Thank you. I have
I
no
looked it up.
what the Nielsen ratings are for anything.
the
I'm a fan.
Nielsen ratings. Now, does that include all media, or is that just the actual live broadcast? Probably the
Probably
live.
just a live broadcast, I think.
Yeah. Who the fuck watches regular TV anymore?
Is that a Yoda tiki?
It's a Yoda
Cup?
Tiki. Cup.
Totally,
All
man.
right, then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. That came from the Star Wars store online.
Nice, that's cool. Before we talk about the Squid of the Squid, I just want to quickly talk about what I watched with my 2.5-year-old daughter.
Yeah, give
Oh,
us.
I
give
always
us-
like this.
I do
Yeah,
too. I really do.
yeah.
I like.
I've been trying to bring this as an element in because it's not just like the classic. So we've got the slew of shows that we watch on Netflix, and then the other, and my daughter, she's into unicorns, obviously.
What
And-
self-respecting 3-year-old isn't?
Well, she's only 2.5, but
I'm in sales. I round up.
yeah, absolutely. But when I was a little kid, there was this cartoon movie that I loved, and it was called The Last Unicorn, and sure enough, it's on Prime. And so we watched it, and sometimes she's really into a movie, and sometimes you can just tell she doesn't like it right from the get-go.
Yep.
Like, she's really been into Cars the last couple of weeks, and we watched this. We literally watched The Last Unicorn 3 times in 2 days.
Oh wow.
Right? So she was, like, legit into this. So if you get a chance to watch it, 1982, Jeff Bridges, Alan Arkin, and fun
Angela
fact...
Lansbury and Mia
Mia Farrow.
Oh, yeah, man. And here's a cool thing. The guys that
Christopher Lee?
Christopher Lee, yeah. He plays King Haggard. And one of the cool things about this is, have you guys seen the 1977 Hobbits animated movie?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Fucking awesome.
Same animate?
Same people.
Oh.
And if you've seen 1984's Flight of the Dragons, same people.
You might also like The Secret of Nim, The Flight of the Dragons, The Hobbit, American Tail, Fern Gully, The Dark Crystal, The Lion.
I like all those.
All Dogs Go to Heaven, The Black Cauldron, Little Nemo, The Brave Little Toaster, Once Upon a Forest, Thumbelina. Like, I want to watch every single one of these fucking movies
Yeah,
now,
man.
starting with The Last Unicorn. I remember this, but I never
Yeah.
saw it.
Anyway, I'm just going to leave it at that. I'll let you guys go out there and explore it. It's on Prime Video right now, streaming. You don't have to pay for it. It's included with your regular Prime, so you don't have to have any of the bullshit add-ons that Amazon likes to loop you in for 30 days free, and then you're like, what the fuck is all this stuff on my credit card? Because that's what happens to me every month.
Okay, before
You're laughing because you know exactly what I'm talking about. Fucking Stack TV add-on,
When did I
Stars
subscribe-
add-on,
when did I subscribe
MGM
to
add-on.
CTV on demand?
Like, I know. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? You know how you're like, oh, I cut cable, I saved so much money, but now I have 9 streaming services.
Oh God.
Shauna's like, you told me you canceled Star. I was like, I swear I canceled the $12.99 a month that I said I wouldn't let get to your credit card. How many Raging Rainbow Horns out of 10 do you give? The last one?
Well, the villain in it is how many red bowls?
Oh, Red Bull.
Because there's a Red Bull that chases the unicorns and pushes them into the ocean.
Oh no.
You need to watch that shit.
Red Bull?
The Red Bull.
The
B-U.
Bull. Bull.
Bull.
Like
Ball.
you know, like the energy drink.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's a Red Bull?
There's a Red Bull.
It gives you wings.
I thought you said bowl.
Yeah,
I'm
and like
picturing-
Lucy will be watching. We'll be watching it in the living room, and I'll be like in the kitchen, like getting some revenge. And then all of a sudden, the Red Bull will come up, and she'll come running into the kitchen. The Red Bull is on the screen, and I have to come and watch with her while the Red Bull's on there.
That's adorable.
Anyway, so I rediscovered this pretty cool, badass cartoon from the early '80s.
That is cool.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
Mark, what do you want to talk about? What's this massive show that both you and I watched this week?
Martin, you want to go to the
Yeah.
bathroom for like 20 minutes?
Yeah, we don't want to ruin
Go
it
deep
for
into
anybody.
it.
I don't
but this
think-
is probably isn't going to get watched. Yeah, we can sort of delve a little
If
bit.
you haven't watched that
Squid
number
Game
one,
is
Sorry, go on.
It really, yeah. If you haven't watched the #1 show on Netflix, that is,
Worldwide, not just in Canada, worldwide.
it's what the largest non-English language show, like the most successful non-English language
It's
show on Netflix
killing
worldwide
it.
ever.
Yeah, it's more successful than Money Heist.
So it's Squid Game. I had kind of marked it that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna watch that. I kind of thought, oh, I'll back shelf it, and then suddenly in like 3 days it became this phenomenon, and I'm like, I need to get in there so that it's not ruined for me. So yeah, I jumped right in Squid Game, and it's very. I have some strong opinions on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the whole premise is great.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Down on their luck people in an impossible situation.
Yeah, you're not really ruining anything. Down on your luck people that end up somehow getting involved in this real life survivor pseudo game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Almost battle royale kind of style. If
yeah,
you've seen
very
that,
battle
if you've seen
royale.
that Japanese movie.
so, but the one problem I have with it, and I've actually sort of had this confirmed for me on TikTok from this one Korean comedian on TikTok.
What's his name?
Her.
What's her name?
I don't know.
Okay.
I can reference her, but she sort of said what I had suspected is that the translation is not good. So the version that we're seeing
I
as
just read
English
this article
speakers
today.
is not, we're losing a lot of the intricacy and the tropes that are in Korean culture that are being used, but they're being translated improperly.
Interesting.
So
I had read that she said it was the closed captioning that there was issues with.
yeah, but the dubbing is identical to the closed captioning almost.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Because I watched it with the closed captioning and dubbing on.
But closed captioning is different than subtitles.
Oh, sorry, I watched it with the subtitles
Okay.
and the dub.
The thing is, though, is would hypothetically, like a North American or a British audience who's going to be watching the English dub version of this, would they get some of these tropes and some of these intricacies of South Korean culture that you would only know
No.
if you actually live there?
No, we would.
Or were like so immersed in K-pop that you would just know it's second nature?
Yeah, I think you'd have to be that
No
immersed
reaction on my
into
K-pop reference?
Korean
Jeez.
culture. But it's interesting because you can almost tell that there's certain things, like, for instance, there's the one kind of crazy gangster girl,
Yeah.
right, that's in it, and she keeps referring to that one gangster dude as like old man, when in reality, in like Korean, it would be sort of like in Latino, it's like Poppy. So it's kind of like an old man, but in sort of a cute, flirting, sexual way. So calling somebody old man is much different than being, oh, Poppy, kind of thing. So they said, you kind of lost that interaction between the two of them because the translation kind of threw people off, English speakers off. So that's kind of interesting. She's going to do, I think, a series where she actually goes through and finds some of the points in it that are, because there's the one she says is this huge standout is there's an episode called Ganbu,
Yeah.
right, where it's like best friends,
Yeah.
so to speak. But in the Korean culture, the way that they define Ganbu is different than they say in that episode. And she says it's like kind of what's yours is mine, right? There's a part in it that's kind of like sharing, and it's supposed to be, there is no ownership in this relationship is what it actually means. And the whole concept of there is no ownership in this relationship is much deeper than how they translated it.
But do you think in that episode, because there's obviously marbles involved in there,
Yeah.
like the marble game, and I'm just gonna leave it at that because it doesn't ruin
Yeah.
anything. But I don't know if a North American audience would understand that connection or that terminology, right?
Yeah, we would be lost even if it was correct.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes me wonder, like when it's this like a foreign language film, how much do we really miss in the subtlety?
I don't know if we do necessarily, and I think also they're trying to make sure that when they dub it, that it's lining up to the lips as much as possible too, because there's lots of people that I think are off-put by watching a dubbed show if they feel that there's too much missync between what's being said and the lips as well.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting.
So I think
debate for that.
I think
right?
sometimes they have to find a word that's a synonym, that basically syncs better, but to your point, might lose a little bit of subtlety, to a native speaker of that language when they go, well, that's not actual translation, but to the English audience, putting that word in there that meshes better with the cadence of what's being said on screen doesn't lose the meaning of the scene. Or the overall story arc.
I get some of that.
So I
just
think
coming from her point of view, though, she
Yeah.
said the version of the show that I'm getting by listening
is
to it
even better.
in native Korean is not like you're not getting as good of a version of it as I'm getting listening to it in its native tongue. And I can totally get that. I mean, if we take a movie that we like that has some subtlety to it in certain parts, and some references and tropes and sort of memes, and then we listen to it in another dubbed language or something, then it's sort of like the voices are off. It's like, no, that's not that character's voice, and the voice sometimes has a lot of meaning.
It's kind of like when I watch Dark on Netflix and Money Heist on Netflix, and there's a couple of characters that have it's the same voice actor in both shows. And I remember when I was watching Money Heist and I'd already watched Dark. No, sorry, I was watching Dark and I'd already watched Money Heist. And I was like, that's not that guy's voice. That's this guy from Money Heist. Like it was fucking with my brain.
And you realize how important, like, really people that are cast because of their voice. Like, it's not, you're not going to get a Christopher Walken in a movie and then, like, have some, hi, how are you doing today? Like I'm like, oh fuck, that's not Walken, that's not Freeman. Like
it's weird how we have preconceived notions of what a certain person's voice is going to look like based on their outward appearance or their mannerisms or the type of character or the type of person that they're playing.
I let so many people down when they meet me for the first time because they're like, "Fuck, you sound sexy on the phone," but my God, no, just whatever. What is so great about this fucking show, though? Why did it clip? In
you love
days to
Survivor. You just
#1?
said it. You love Survivor.
So that's
It's the human emotion and seeing how people put in an impossible situation either flourish or crack.
And it also is sort of a mirror for society and how we treat each other, and how much good is in a person. Are you truly good, or are you only as good as your options?
And just because you're maybe considered the smart guy and you were deemed super successful,
How well
you
do you
actually
do
end
in
up
this powder keg?
you end up actually being a complete dirtbag. And the person that maybe people go, oh, look at this fucking loser, blah, 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 blah. Oh, you do this, you do that. But then he ends up having a heart of gold and being the fucking most genuine human in the fucking place.
That actually reminds me of another thing that this TikToker said is there's this scene, again, that crazy sort of gangster girl. And when she's trying to convince people to be her partner for that one game.
Oh, yeah.
And the way that she says it, the line is sort of like, well, I'm smart, but I didn't go to school or some kind of thing, like
I'm good at everything. I'm good at everything that I'm except for what I'm not.
Yes, along those lines. But apparently there's a big, again, sort of a trope or something known within Korean culture that if it's the smart person who's born into the wrong sort of caste, and because they're not wealthy, they never have an opportunity to study. So what she actually says, like a more literal definition, is I'm smart, but I couldn't afford to study.
Or I wasn't allowed to study.
Yes, and it was sort of a shot at some of the other characters that are more wealthy, that maybe came from a better place, and just because you were able to study doesn't mean you're smart. And so it was a little deeper.
It's interesting. I'm gonna next time I'm in Toronto, I'm gonna pick some of my coworkers' brains that have maybe watched it actually in native Korean.
It would be cool to actually
for all your viewers. I work for Samsung.
Yeah. First, hang on. Let's
Rob works for the largest kimchi producer in the Western Hemisphere.
Martin, how has this?
I hope you like fermented foods.
Martin, how has this cemented your idea of wanting to see it, or are you repulsed by it now? Because I've seen 2 episodes, so I can see what these guys are talking about a little bit.
And I mean, I don't think we've spoiled anything.
No, you haven't. I don't know past 2 episodes, but
you watch the trailer and it's people participating in a game that ends in some people dying.
Correct.
But
and the theme is they're playing kids games.
Yeah.
Does that sound like something you want to watch, Marty?
Martin, do you have a pause?
Oh, I think we lost him for a second.
Martin.
Oh, his audio is skipping. That's what's going on. That's why he can't respond to this. I'm sure this is something he would absolutely love. No, all good.
So how much of the conversation of Squid Game did you hear, Martin?
Yeah.
Not a lot. I got to the part where you guys were talking about language, and then after that, it kind of just the audio just went downhill.
And I mean, Martin, do you feel like this is something like a show that you want to watch? Are you excited to see it?
Oh, I've always loved Korean, Korean, films, movies, TV shows. Like I've been a fan of that since the early 2000s, like when I got into university. So I'm definitely gonna watch it. And I like it. It kind of reminds me of kind of like a Parasite, where they delve into the human psyche and what people are capable of, which I was a huge fan of. So I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Parasite also talks about class.
Yeah, exactly. The class.
And I think that's a very common theme in Korean media, is the interaction between classes and how it's almost like a pseudo caste system.
Well, I mean, it's almost like
But it's capitalism, right? South Korea is capitalism, so there's definitely a class structure in that. Type of
there's
society.
Super rich people. Like look at Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style is making fun of rich people that shop in Gangnam.
Yeah. And
I mean, when I was in Seoul a few years ago, I stayed at the Sheraton in Gangnam. That area was crazy, like very, very ritzy and affluent.
Yeah, we were saying, Martin, I don't know how much you heard of it too, is the kind of debating how much you lose when you listen to a show dubbed in not its native tongue.
I think that's true for anything. Like, just look at Guy Ritchie movies. I mean, how much British slang do I have to? When do I have to pause it to look up what that means in British slang? And that's English. So I mean, I think you do lose a lot of it because you don't. There's certain words that just don't translate in certain, into English, especially from like.
Like, don't you feel like you can usually pick up what that slang means in the context of how it's being used? And
There's this word in Tagalog that doesn't have an equivalent in North American. You just won't get it. You won't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like it's an expression that you're not annoyed, but you get to the point where you get annoyed and all you want to do is clench up. And there's no word for that in the English, and there's nothing to explain that in the English language.
Yeah.
So
That's what you're like. Things are sort of synonyms, but they have a lot of different connotation.
Totally.
And they're being used within.
There's
speak.
nuance. There's
Like
nuance
there's a big
in it.
difference between come here and get over here, or
exactly.
Come here.
right. It's sort of, and I think sometimes in this dubbing or subtitling is that they choose maybe a word that's not, you lose some of that connotative.
Well, the other
meaning.
thing is too is, I mean, like let's compare Chinese to English, right? I think Chinese has about 40,000 different words, and the English language has 200,000 words, right? So just look at two different prominent languages.
And trying to fit that into a film, and like you're saying with your
Yeah.
nuance is like you. She's right. You're gonna miss shit.
Like I've heard people sometimes, like I was chatting with somebody that taught English in China for years, and he said a lot of times people will just they'll call something that's pink, orange, and red in China. Like it's just
okay.
just, I don't think that always happens. I mean, obviously I'll probably get fact checked on this.
So what color are their jumpsuits?
Red.
Pink, apparently.
Orange. I would say.
There's a big debate on Reddit. I believe they're pink.
But I mean, also, if you look back at ancient cultures and older ancient languages, they didn't necessarily have, a description for all these different colors. Blue, black, and brown might have all just been called the same thing. And it was
Yeah.
just referred to as a dark color.
Yeah, as we
and then a
evolved, we
light
were like,
color,
"No,
and
we
then
need
like a
to-"
bright color,
Yeah.
right? So it's funny how there's that evolution over time and how we categorize things with more precision and more depth.
And
as
depending
language
upon-
grows.
And depending upon which culture you are, like, they always say, I mean, whether it's truth or not, they say, the Inuit have 200 words for snow.
Is
right?
that true?
Like, I don't know how true it is, but what they're trying to say is that what we call snow, like we may say snow and sleet or something, right?
Yeah.
But for a snow,
They just call it every day.
but for for a snow condition,
day.
when your entire life is surrounded by this white stuff, and
Yeah.
that's such a huge part of your culture,
It's completely
there's a
ubiquitous.
big difference between like
Yeah.
snowball snow and icy granular snow that doesn't compact,
Oh.
and so they have all these different words that mean different types of snow because they know that difference.
So they've almost developed two different nouns to describe something, where we would have snow and then adjectives or
Yes.
things around it to
And that's what I
describe
think
that
they're
particular-
meaning. Yeah, basically,
That's cool.
right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of cool in that sense.
Yeah.
So with us, I mean, is something, if I'm describing something to you, is it small? Is it tiny? Is it minute? Is it, and
Invisible.
the
Or how about-
different use
yeah.
of a word is very, if I say, it was just a minute, it's different than small, even though it's a synonym.
Yeah.
But you may lose what I really meant in that situation, right?
It's kind of like when somebody describes the difference between mauve and purple, and you're like, well, isn't it purple? No, it's mauve. Right?
Salmon and
But
pink.
again, that goes back. We start to add these descriptions or these one-term words that describe something that maybe they would have used a statement to describe it.
And I had heard some rumor that, and again, it's from this TikToker, so I mean, take it with a grain of salt. But apparently, with something like Netflix and some of these big streaming services, they're not paying the people that do the dubbing and subtitling very much. It's sort of like a bit of a menial task because they try to get it out fast.
I have something to interject on that. So The Economist actually had an article about this.
Okay.
And they were talking about how certain languages get better dubbing than other languages with Netflix specifically. And English, French, Spanish, and German, they spend the most money, and English gets the highest percentage of dollars spent on translation and voice actors, just because they just have the highest penetration of Netflix users.
One thing I really notice when something is dubbed is you lose people and performers that speak in different cadences. You lose the cadence often when something's dubbed. Everybody seems to be speaking like the same speed.
Well, you
So,
lose the
You don't.
inflection
I don't.
too.
I
Like,
don't think you. I think Squid Game actually was pretty good about that, and that's
Well,
part of the
the
reason
old
why
man, they did, he kind of slowed his
He's-
speech down.
He seemed a little, out of place sometimes with the dubbing, but I'm a very sensitive person to lip syncing issues being off. It's just something that's always bothered me because I sold electronics for so long. It's always something I'm looking for. So if the
eye
dubbing isn't
catches it,
well
sure.
done, it drives me fucking nuts, right? And that's part of the reason it took me a long time to get into Money Heist because I don't think the dubbing is well done, right? I think it's out of sync a lot, and I actually found that with Dark as well. I finally ended up watching Dark subtitled, and then that was how I was able to watch it.
Maybe I should actually try watching an episode just subtitled to see if listening to the actual sound of the voices is better.
Yeah. The other thing is when you watch something in subtitles, you don't pick up your fucking phone
Oh, 100%.
because you have to be focused on it.
I watch, I quite frequently use subtitling along with listening to it in English.
I use
So I don't miss
subtitles.
stuff,
Yeah. No, reading what you're seeing is crucial to me now because the accents and transitions and whatnot, like your mind gets taken away.
And
Your
you're getting
mind-
older and
yeah.
you can't hear things as well.
Yeah, it's everything.
It's true.
It's fucking coming on 40, and I'm like, I just do better.
Must be nice,
Yeah.
youngie.
Wow. So,
Hey, you're such
Any-
a young kid.
Anyways, okay, I know I'm going to continue watching it, and I love that this happened because I would have gone down and probably missed all this. So now my brain, because I stopped because I told Shauna about it, and she wants to see it now. So I'm glad that,
I'm gonna rewatch it with Michelle.
yeah, like it's something that I know that she would really dig, but like how many calamaris with extra tzatziki out of 10?
I would give it a 9.
9.
It's very, very good. I feel as though if we could really, learn Korean and then watch it,
Yeah.
I think it would be even better. But that's the great thing that we're getting this great cinema from other parts of the world to us in English language, and it's doing well. And I hope it opens doors for other countries to really shine.
I hope it opens more doors to for people to purchase more Samsung products.
I've been watching, I watched a German show, right? Like How to Sell Drugs on the Internet.
Oh, you did watch
is
that? Yeah.
German,
Oh, is it good?
right? And it's dubbed in. It's the same thing. And to see, I switched it over to the original sound and just watched it with subtitles an episode. And then I heard the real voices of the people, and I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm more in touch with them, hearing their real voice, and then seeing the words than I would be using a dub. So I'm kind of with you. I'm in between. Maybe I need to watch it twice to really get a sense of it.
I think it also depends on how tired you are when you're watching it.
100%.
Because if it's a little bit later at night and sometimes a little bit tired, I got to listen to it dubbed, or else I just got to go to bed.
Yeah, you really need to focus, I think. But it's good. I recommend
sucks.
it's
so
sort of
how many calamaris?
it's, you know what? I think it's an 8.5.
Okay.
I feel as though it's going to be like over a 9 if we could learn Korean and then watch it.
Can I say one last thing though?
Yeah.
Did you like the fact that Storm Shadow was in it?
Oh, is he? I didn't see the Storm Shadow movie.
Well, it was the original G.I. Joe actually, the guy that plays Storm Shadow.
Is he in the
original.
real one? Which character is he?
The front man.
Is he the front? Is that the guy? Oh, what is it? Lee Yun or
I can't remember his name. I forget.
Uh,
What did you think of the
yeah.
very end of the series though?
you know what? It did, and then I was going to say that I don't like the way that it ended. Very
I
much.
don't either, and I'll leave it to our audience to finish watching it.
Yeah.
I felt like I was a little that was my only disappointment about the whole thing.
A couple things really confused me in the final episode, and then I wasn't the biggest fan of how it ended. But we can talk about that another time.
I want to watch it. I know Martin wants to watch it. And then
But
we
it's
can all
great.
Have
Why don't we do a recap in a month?
Yeah, no, I agree. I can kill
Yeah.
this.
Once
in a
the
week.
whole world has seen it.
Oh, I'll curve that this weekend.
Like it's 8.5 hours. So
Yeah, you can crush that. Okay, cool. Well, let's pivot to the dark and the ghouly. And
it's
the
a good
scary and
transition to horror because I mean, we're going to talk today about movies that maybe are scary that aren't horrors, and this series is like that to me.
I think that's a perfect place to start. Actually, in that the fact that Squid Games is not so much a scary movie, but a scary topic.
You wouldn't call it a horror, but you'd call it like a psychological
Thriller.
Yeah, but definitely the psychological aspect. There's lots of parts of it that don't have any thriller or horror
But it pulls on your
Guys.
it pulls on your emotions.
Yeah.
And it puts you in a situation where you go, what would I do if I was in that situation? How would I react? Do I what's the word I'm looking for? Do I
Fight or flight.
Moat.
do I understand where these people are coming from, or am I totally like at odds with this? You know, that's why I like those types of things where it's not like Saw.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's very psychological.
Gore porn, you know.
Because
and-
Saw is just one of those things where it's just like, I don't want to be in that situation. I don't want to have to think about that choice.
But you have your gore, like, so that sort of the bit of the horror side of it is
Yeah.
there is death and gore.
well, I did.
There's definitely ultra violence, a little bit of ultra
Yeah.
violent on the ultra violent side.
at some point in that first episode, or the second episode, I guess I've seen where when they're in the room and the guns come out. I was like, okay, when are we gonna stop shooting?
Yeah.
And it did get to that point where it heightened you. So, but yeah, no, I ran across the internet on this question and was kind of like, what movies do scare you but don't ever fall into the genre of horror? So, Martin, now that we got you fucking working, we'll start with you, good buddy. What's a scary movie that's not typically defined as scary that scares the shit out of you? Makes you poop your pants.
Let's broaden our minds.
I get would Pan's Labyrinth be defined as a horror?
I wouldn't
think
say so.
I wouldn't
Is
say.
that like that's not meant to be a scary movie, but
it's fantasy.
Yeah.
that creeps me out. Like the monsters that he makes in those ones, like the one with the eyes with the hands, that was freaky.
Oh yeah, like with like like in the palm of the hand.
Yeah, and I found the whole movie in general just so dark and so disturbing. I'm just like, is this supposed to be this? Like it's a Spanish movie, right? So
And I can look around the corner,
Yeah, right.
around corners.
When I itch my balls, I can see exactly where the itch is.
Oh, I could see. I could inspect my teens.
TMI.
I could do a proper prostate exam.
No, you're right, Martin. Like that, like it's weird, but it's about a girl going into isn't it about a girl going into like an imaginary world? And
Yeah.
Somewhat, yeah.
sort of. Yeah,
like it's built on the premise of
During World War One,
Elder
World War
Worlds,
Two,
World War One,
World War
secret
Two, World War Two.
passageways, and all this stuff that is not typically. I mean, you can.
It's an imagination run wild,
Yeah.
essentially,
No, I agree.
in a backdrop of something that is scary and stressful and those kind of things. And I think in those situations, that's what children do, right?
Yeah, but
and I think that's the broader thing that they're talking about.
he makes me think that Guillermo del Toro movies are actually more scary than I think.
Certain ones are, and I mean, he definitely brings an element of weirdness and creepiness, and you know what, I would almost say there is some horror elements in Pan's Labyrinth.
Mhm.
But I call
But
it
it's not a horror movie.
I wouldn't call it a horror movie though.
Yeah. Okay. I think. Okay. So we got one from Rob. I would definitely say it's got a horror aspect without being a horror. So there's two. Mark, you does this? Does it scale you?
I think we have to differentiate from a movie that's scary
Okay.
from a horror movie.
Scary topic
Right.
versus a horror.
So
okay,
that's
yeah,
what we're
yeah,
talking about, right?
Yes,
So there's
yeah.
scary elements, but I wouldn't call it a horror movie. But sometimes having to look at the human condition is scary.
Yeah.
Right.
Like when. Oh, okay. What's that?
So what about like The Cove? That's a fucking. I can't.
Oh God, yeah.
That's a scary.
That's a scary movie, but it's not a scary movie, but it is scary to watch.
Even Schindler's List, right?
Scary
Where-
talk.
Fucking
Yeah.
scary topic. It's not a horror movie by any means, but when you get into it, it can fucking scare you. It gives you chills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not one of those things you play in the background while you're
No.
doing dishes. You know, it's just one thing that you watch once and that's it. Like I can't watch this more than once.
Or some people you don't play it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a triggering. That's a very triggering movie if you really want to get into it, and scary in that regard, like mental health scary, right?
So
Like,
what came to your mind when we were on this topic, Mike?
Return to Oz.
Return.
That was a weird one. I like the sequel, right?
It was the follow up to the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
It was Disney's idea of what would happen if she went back, and like
Is that the one where it had the weird like chubby looking robot guy with
Yeah, that guy,
TikTok?
the robot.
Literally, TikTok was his name, and Dorothy came back, and the witch.
not to
took
be confused
over.
with the Chinese spy machine TikTok?
Yes, not to be. Yeah,
Okay.
TICKTOK, one word.
Sorry, CCP.
You mean the
Fire
app
machine?
that I'm going to put all of us on later? That app?
Yeah,
that one?
perfect.
All right,
Excellent,
so,
excellent.
But Return to Oz, when I watched it as a kid, like there's these fucking roller monkeys,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
and then
Oh,
and then
yeah.
and
Yeah,
then
that's
and then
right.
the witch,
They've got the long, like,
right?
Yeah.
And then the witch can take her head off and
I
put
feel
on
like
different
like
heads.
Michael doesn't Diana Ross do like?
Yeah,
Isn't she like one of the witches in it or something?
Isn't that the Wiz?
That's
That was the Wiz.
Wiz,
the
sorry,
Wiz,
I'm fucking. I don't know.
no. Return to Oz,
Early '80s,
very well,
like
Fairuza Balk when she was like 12 years old. So yeah, who was it? It was Auntie M, Uncle Henry. So TikTok was in there. The guy who played TikTok also played Admiral Akbar, actually, which is pretty fun.
it's a trap.
It's a trap. Dorothy, saved from a psychiatric experiment by a mysterious girl, is somehow called back to Oz when a vain witch and the Gnome King destroy the world. Like the big scarecrow guy with the pumpkin head, like Jack Skellington.
Yeah.
I think that's where Tim Burton got a lot of his.
Can I be honest with you though?
Yeah.
Like have you ever read any of the Wizard of Oz books?
No.
So the thing is like that's not the way the second book goes.
No, it's not.
And it's almost like it's like a weird
It's not the way-
80s Disney acid trip.
Yes,
That's kind of what it is.
100%
Fever dream.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it.
It feels like too many mushrooms, man. It just, I don't know. And every time I watch it, I get.
It was the 80s. It was cocaine.
So I don't know. It's scary in a way that it took kids' ideas and amped them up, right? Like it's supposed to be it's little people in the first one, right? It's the Green Witch, it's the wizard, it's this fairy tale-esque thing, and the worst thing about
The Green Witch? It's the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah,
dude. Come on.
And
You're nailing it, and I'm gonna use exactly what you're saying here to segue into what my
Sure.
scary fucking
Yeah.
movie is.
Yeah.
Is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory
The
right?
original?
for the same fucking reasons. It's creepy. It's a dude that
Yeah.
owns a factory that lures kids there with candy. the fucking he lets a kid drown in a chocolate river, and the kid gets sucked up into a fucking
He does-
tube, never to be seen again.
He does not drown, and he does leave.
Also, we just assume that's chocolate. We don't know what's in that brown water. They never really
You
explain.
don't see him in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Martin, what was
You
that?
never
Hang
see
on.
him at the original.
You don't. No, you
that's
don't.
Right.
He's right,
In the book, he leaves.
So
Yeah.
exactly, but you
That's
watch Willy Wonka, the original one with what's his name, fucking actor,
Gene
Wilder.
Thank you.
So the kid in the I can't remember a German kid who falls in the river.
Hans.
You
or-
never see him again.
Oh yeah.
The
Ver-
girl that turns purple,
Veruca.
you never fucking see again.
Yep.
Veruca Salt gets sucked into the compactor, and he laughs and says that goes to the furnace. You never fucking see her again. And they pointed this out. I did a little bit of research.
Yeah, don't
Said
be a bad kid.
at
That's the
each-
fucking theme.
Each step on the tour of the ride, they use it like interesting vehicles to get from spot to spot. But once the one portion of the tour's done and they get into the vehicle, there's only enough room for the amount of people that are left on the tour. So it's almost like he knows that those people aren't going to make it. So there's 10 that start, and once the kid drowns, they get onto the boat that there's only got fucking 8 seats, or the other vehicle that's only got 8 seats now. And so it's fucking fucked up.
Who directed that?
That you got to think that like it's creepy as fuck, and the whole thing is to select like the chosen one to take over the factory at the end. But is this destined to repeat itself? Is now Charlie gonna become fucking Willy Wonka and lead other children to their death until he finds a fucking chosen one to hand the factory over to? Like, it's creepy.
Well, the book, he kills the actual kids. Like, the kids actually die in the book.
No, they don't.
I thought they did, didn't they? Did I?
No. Because at the very end, like in the book, they're in the Great Glass Elevator and they're above the factory, and then that's when they see them being walked out, right? And like
Oh.
TV
okay.
Kid is like all along
Yeah.
because they stretched him.
In the
Right.
original, you do not see the kids again,
You don't.
and it's creepy as fuck.
Well, that's why they call
They're-
it Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, not Charlie and the Chocolate
They're drinking
Factory.
the fucking fizzy drink that makes you float, and there's a fucking giant saw blade, fan blade that they're floating up to. How
And-
is that not horror?
You know what? And honestly, that's
think that
that's
actually
one of my
happened in a
favorite
song.
things in Family Guy that they make fun of. You know when they go to the beer factory?
Like, it's not a funny thing.
Big fart.
Floating with the they're going to certain death,
It's not
and they have
funny
to find a
now.
way to get out of it.
I thought it was hilarious until you broke this down for me.
You've ruined this movie for me, Mark.
Seriously, I can't. I got to take another pass and see it through Mark's eyes.
Mark, you had like a terrible childhood, eh?
My God.
You know,
honestly-
your older stepbrother singing you the fucking Freddy Krueger song.
1,
2,
2, coming for you.
3, 4,
Better
shut
lock your
the
door.
Okay, all right. So summarize here. We got Pan's Labyrinth because of fucking kooky creatures, which is a fantasy movie, but scary because of what you're seeing. We've got an 80s acid trip because
80s psychedelic nightmare.
yeah, like everybody got high and fucking made my shit and thought, yeah, take her head off, put a new one on. We've got Charlie and the Chocolate Factory,
Sociopath.
which is like a sociopathic.
A 70s fucking sociopath leading children to certain death.
Musical. That 70s sociopath
Yeah.
musical.
And you're talking about the little people in fucking Oz?
Yeah.
Yeah, never mind the fucking Oompa Loompas. He's created creatures in his fucking factory that serve him.
The Oompa Loompas were found, not
Yeah,
created.
they're not.
But they are essentially
They were found in a
slave
jungle.
labor.
Yeah, they're
He holds
yeah.
them captive in
Yeah.
slave labor.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So-
Yeah.
Wrong complaint, but now you got it. Rob,
They
what's
don't have a union?
They're all the same person in the
Now
original.
now I want you to substitute Willy Wonka with Jeff Bezos and discuss.
Yeah.
Rob, what's yours?
So mine is 2000's Vertical Limit with Chris O'Donnell. It's that mountain climbing movie. And you know, at the beginning scene where like the clip breaks and his dad's hanging,
he's hanging his-
and they're
you have to let me
holding
go, son.
and holding. That movie fucking like freaks me out, and it's one of those movies when you watch it, your feet sweat and your palms sweat, and there's all these precarious situations where they're hanging from shit. So I don't know if it's so much it kind of scares me, but freaks me out, and it elicits a physical response when I'm fucking
Sure.
watching that movie, even to this day. But especially when I saw it in the theater.
Every time I watch that movie, those two links that jump out when
Yeah.
they're taking when Chris O'Donnell's
Yeah.
taking photos, I'm like, that is the worst CGI in the history of CGI.
But it was
You need to
2000.
YouTube that.
The
I know.
CGI wasn't
I know.
there yet.
I know. It was
It's
just
not
been
a
like,
bad movie though.
It's a great movie. What Bill Paxton, Chris O'Donnell.
Yeah.
Um,
You know when they have like the fucking
the Nitro.
the nitro and they're on the fucking backpacks and stuff. Like it's just a good.
And those two
yeah.
drunk climbers, those Australian
Oh
drunk
yeah, those
climbers.
guys
who were-
are they Australian? I thought they were
I don't know.
I thought they were Austrian
They
or
were
something,
drunk
or
the whole
Norwegian
time.
or something.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the climbing thing, like that's
But that's what I'm
spooky.
talking. But do you guys find that any of those kind of movies where they're doing that? Have you ever seen Everest?
Yes.
The-
Same.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing. It,
Yeah.
Like it makes like that's a good thing though. Like it gets you into the movie that much.
Well, on the list of, I was looking at some like scary non-horror movies.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Is it 127 hours? Was
Yeah.
on there. That's
Shut-
another fucking.
because you're thinking to yourself, holy fuck! Like me, I would have just chugged all the water right away.
Like, what would you do?
Would you be?
right?
Would you be? Well, okay.
would
yeah.
you be able to cut your own fucking arm off?
Mind you,
I would not be able to cut my own arm off. At
Mind
least
you-
you had a knife. Imagine you had to gnaw it off with your
No, no,
teeth.
no. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Give me a 9-inch. What-
Martin's reaction was
I
gold.
don't feel good. I feel dizzy.
He had a pocket knife.
Yeah.
It was a pocket. Do you know the work to get through tendon? I don't know personally, but I'm just imagining tendon in a steak when it's not cooked properly
about-
to get through fresh tendon in your arm.
How about the pain factor? And that's why
Blacking
there's that one scene where he's basically cut around everything except for the main nerve ending, the main nerve, and he knows that when he cuts through the nerve, that's when he's going to feel the most pain. That's why that's one of the parts he waits till the very end.
That's right. He does work his way the whole. It is. It's
My hands are fucking climbing up right just listening to this.
Mm.
Well, that's great. I love that. I love shit that like because you always want the Freddys, the Jasons, the Michael Myers. These are the traditional scary horror movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ones that Mark was traumatized with by his older brother as a young child. Talk about that. You were talking about that before the show. Like, is it really still something in you? That,
You know what? It's so I was horribly scared of Freddy Krueger when I was younger, right? Because he gets you in his sleep, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. But what I did was, I was tortured by my stepbrother with my fear of it by singing the song and all the Freddy Krueger things, the dragging his fingers across, to
Did
make
he ever
the
wake
sound.
you up like with
Not quite
like
that much,
taking,
but
taking
more
like a
psych-
fork across your face
More
or something?
psychological abuse.
Okay,
Um,
which is almost worse.
but what I did to try to counteract it at some point in my life is I sort of
You did turn out to as a good human though.
I embraced the the Freddy Krueger part, right? So we had this conversation before about lucid dreaming. I actually, after watching Dream Warriors, I taught myself to lucid dream where I could actually do things in my dream. And Freddy used to be my nightmare fuel. And then I learned how to beat Freddy in my dreams.
How did you beat him?
Yeah,
in my dreams with lucid dreaming, I could fly. I learned how to
So how did you vanquish him?
he was nothing to
did
me.
you
Like I had superpowers. I could fucking I could light him on fire. I could, I could become
Again.
times taller than him.
You're not Scott enough. Burn.
Oh,
But yeah, so I kind of met it head on in that sense.
Sure, no,
but that
you-
was one of those things. Like
Face your
he was
fears.
my one fucking horror movie. Fucked me up when I
Nemesis.
was a kid. Yeah.
what
Yeah.
Martin? What fucked you up as a kid? Like, what shouldn't you? What did you see way too early?
Oh, the Boogeyman. My dad made me watch it with him.
And
It's like an 80s horror movie. It
Oh.
fucked me up for life.
how? Like what? Elaborate. Will I eat a Timbit?
I don't remember. I just remember crying a lot. That's the one thing I remember. I was just like watching it and just seeing these horrible, gory scenes. I'm just crying the whole time.
How old were you?
5, maybe 6.
That's way too early for anything horror.
That's so too early. Like that's where your brain is like forming and coming up with an imagination, and limitless. Like you have potential to create whatever you want in your head. My God, you poor child.
That's where you all fucked up. Now we know.
Does any of us do you guys like horror movies?
I do and I don't.
Gentlemen,
Certain genres.
let's broaden our
I don't. I hate Saw. I fucking hate Saw.
And I love Saw.
I do not want to watch a scene where I have to make a decision of life and death on whether or not I'm going to jump into a giant pit full of used needles. Fuck that.
Okay, that is the worst scene. That's a nightmare fuel for me.
That is
scene.
that like what I think if we went back in the archives of the podcast, I have brought up that one scene at least 6 times because it fucks
Of
with
all
me.
the movies, that one scene is the most fucked up to me.
I used that
Because you had a
scene-
claw, you had a bear fucking thing on your head that was going to crush your face. Sorry.
In the debate that we did a few weeks ago, I used that needle scene as part of my like horror exhibit at the zoo at the circus we made. So like you'd stick your hand in a box and it would be like simulated that you could like take part in because I had the Saw Freak Show.
Okay.
God.
So like the needle thing was like to experience the freak show, you'd stick your hands in like 2 black boxes.
You know
and
what'd be
like-
worse? You know what'd be worse than that? If you had to stick your hand in that pain box in Dune
Ooh.
with the needle against your neck.
No, you know what's worse? The Wrath of Khan, where he puts the helmet on and that little creature that burns
Uh,
your ear.
Poor Chekhov.
My God.
That gave me nightmares for the longest time.
You know what? That actually gave me nightmares when I was a kid too.
dude, what about the Matrix when the thing goes in his belly button?
I was an adult. I was cool with
I
that.
didn't like that. I still didn't like that scene. I'm like, oh, I don't want that.
when when I watch that scene, I can feel that in my dick. I'm not kidding. Like when it's going in your belly, you know that weird feeling in your belly button. Like you can.
Why does it go to your dick?
I don't know. It's just like there's a
Does
nerve.
it turn you on?
It
Somehow?
doesn't turn me on.
Like, are
It's
you
an
into belly buttons?
No, it's just an.
It's cool,
uncomfortable
dude. If you
feeling.
are,
I just
fucking weirdo.
I look at that scene. I needed to share that finally. I've never been able to share that before. I look at that scene and I feel when the thing goes in the belly button, I'm like my dick hurts and I don't know why.
Are you an umbilophile?
Maybe.
Oh, I'm getting an umbilical hernia. Does that get you randy?
Can we talk more? To entertain the idea that maybe there's something there. No, no. I love horror. I do, but I love I like the philosophical questions in Saw.
I
right?
like being scared.
You know, I like being scared.
I want to see people's O faces.
I like being scared where my heart's racing.
Totally.
I like the slow burn. I like the tension building scenes.
I hate. I don't like cheap jump stuff.
cheap
though.
jump stuff. Never does it for me anymore.
I mean,
but
it does do it sometimes, but as a whole movie, fuck that shit.
I don't know, Mark. What tropes get you?
Like, what do you mean? Like, what types of horror do I like?
How do you prefer to be scared?
I like the whole. I like the psychological. You know,
Mhm.
that's what I like about horror movies. Just the figuring out, just delving into the human psyche and stuff like that.
And that's why I love Saw. I love it's not the gore, but it's the decisions between, and this is kind of like some of Squid Game, right? Having
Yeah.
to make decisions. Do I save myself or do I save other people? Or, it's fucked up. And so and
That's
this
why
is
Game
funny,
5 is so good.
and this is where you talked about kind of to take it back, the Sopranos prequel, right? We were talking about how you like to flesh things out, right? You like to get more into the characters, and you had talked about what shows we might want to see as a series.
Yes.
I think Saw would be a great series where we could flesh out sort of the
What network?
Shudder.
the thought behind like each of these rooms, and you can kind of see it from different points of view maybe, and I think it could be like really cool to really delve into the whole psyche of each thing.
So if I'm picking up what you're putting down, you're talking about when we meet the character in the movie, it's very quick and it's a flashback scene to why they are in the situation they're in. You want a whole episode dedicated to why that character became who they were.
Exactly.
The mistakes they made that cost them why they're there,
Each
and
episode,
why John came after them.
each episode works them into how they get into Saw's game.
That's cool.
I would watch every fucking episode of that. I mean, it's long.
As long as there's no pit of used needles.
Yeah, keep that pit of.
Yeah,
No
no pit of used needles.
Martin, what do you want to see get stretched into a series? Because I know Chucky, like we're Don Mancini. I know you're a busy dude, and that's why you haven't.
You want to
emailed
see
me back,
Child's
but,
Play as a
like,
TV series?
Chucky's coming out as a TV series.
It is?
Yeah, it's big,
Ooh.
like next week. Devin Sawa.
Well, where's it?
Devin Sawa?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was filmed in Toronto.
Oh.
And
What streaming service or where's it coming out?
I think it's on Hulu. I think it's going out.
So
for
who's
Hulu.
carrying that in Canada then?
Prime?
Prime?
Probably. I would imagine so. Maybe it
Crave
might be on
plus
Shudder.
plus.
Crave, yeah.
Oh, great.
Crave everything.
Crave $12.99.
Listening, can you please update your fucking app so it doesn't suck and it has fucking 4K and HDR? Thank you, Rob.
Hey, Martin, answer my question. What do you want to see turned into a series? What would make you happy for 8 to 10 episodes of horror?
I was thinking, I don't know, like for me originally I was gonna go, I wanted to see Alien, but I was like, I've said that a lot. But then I just wanted to see something funny. So it was considered a horror movie back in the black and white days. So The Blob, let's see a retelling of that into a series.
So, like, whose perspective, the Blob or just what the Blob takes?
Just what the Blob takes. You know, what does it take? How does it happen? Let's see that. I think that'd be a funny kind of series to see.
Who do you think?
That's one of the things that's never been reboot, right? The Blob. It's the black and white was the only reboot they had, or the only original one they had, right?
No, I think they did a really bad one just called Blob, and I think it was
Was that in the 70s?
maybe 70s or 80s. I'm just imagining being in Blockbuster and being in the horror section, and my mother like, we can't rent that today, and you know, because she'd walk around. We watched Silence of the Lambs, and she'd go around the fucking couch with a butcher knife at the end of the night, like thinking Anthony Hopkins, thinking Hannibal of all places would be under our 19.
Whoa.
Excuse me.
I need to rewind that comment.
Do it.
So your mom, after
Yep.
watching Silence of the Lambs, went to the kitchen,
Yep.
got a butcher knife,
Margot.
and did a full walk around of the couch.
Mommy did.
Because Hannibal Lecter might be hiding under the couch in a 2-inch space.
Not my thought.
Little did you know he was right there wearing Mike's face.
Yes.
What happens when you watch The Exorcist with your mother?
Oh, she doesn't. She doesn't. Like my mom.
Because isn't she like a devout Catholic and all that kind of jazz?
Yeah, well, she was. I mean,
or she was at some point.
Yeah. So a lot of Catholic things my mother just does, like she doesn't like to mix oil and water, right?
Yeah,
so,
I
you
get
know
it,
what I'm
I
saying?
get it.
But like she'll watch a horror movie, but like
Does she have like the holy water in a jar somewhere and she brings that out to
okay, like not I mean I'm humble bragging for my mom. So like my mom like
So yes.
no, well, we had, and like this can be confirmed, like our priest at the time went on a sabbatical to Rome. And
brought you the holiest of the holy water?
no, he brought back a cross blessed by Jean Paul. So like
How much of a tithe did you have to pay for that?
It was just a thing. Like it was just
That's cool.
Like because he knew my mom was into that artifact shit.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
So when you go as a priest, you meet the Pope and you have an afternoon with him and you ask him questions. About
All
priests. Get
all
this
priests?
after 20 years.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's like and then you get I think it's 6 months maybe.
How
in Rome.
long do you have to be a priest when you get to go into the badass vault underneath the Vatican? Because that's what I want to know.
You just have to be Tom Hanks. That's the problem. Like, just to be Tom Hanks and Ron Howard making a movie in Rome.
Yeah.
But so she has a cross blessed by the Pope, which I'm sure if there was ever a need to run an exorcism, I'm already halfway to the fucking finish line with that shit. I'll just go get that thing, and if that thing lights on, if it like burns, who's ever having an exorcism? But no, she doesn't do well in that shit.
Okay,
But,
that's fair.
Plot twist: Mike's mom's been dead for 10 years, a la Psycho, and he just visits mom.
Mom is mummified.
Yeah, mom she's a mummy.
So that's really fucking dark. I like it.
This is that month to do it.
I'm spending the weekend in Mother's.
You know what I want to take? Here's what I want to take. I want to take. God.
Do you put a wig on?
Oh, full 9, man.
All right,
I still have
perfect.
all of her blouses.
We're spending the week at the hotel.
Mother.
Let's just change his name to Norman now and get it over with.
Norman Petrow, serial masturbator.
I want to masturbator. That's what we do. I want to see.
Norman debates.
Oh my god, so wrong.
I want to see Escape Room, the shitty movie turned into a series. I want each. No, sorry, that's not.
There's a escape room
yes,
2
sorry.
coming out, right?
Yeah,
It is.
yeah. There is an Escape Room 2 coming out. Me and Jimmy went and saw Escape Room 1, but I think Escape Room would be a great series where you could make each episode a house that somebody gets trapped in with a group of their friends, right? Like you anthologize it instead of making it a running story. Each episode is its own group of people going to a new house that fucks with them, and they have to make their way through. It would require some fancy editing because you'd have to compress a lot of different like you'd have to essentially compress 3 acts into one episode of television. But I think it would be fun because you would get like you could build like how The Wire built, how there was like an overarching story where like there's a group of people who are setting up these escape rooms that are fucking with people, and over time you find out that one group finally gets through and then they're going after these people. Like you could turn it into, because that's what the movie's about, is there's a corporation who's fucking with you and you get a card to go to the escape room, and then if you survive you get to keep your life.
So it's almost kind of like
ca-
Squid Game,
ca-
almost
Cabin
kind
in
of
the
like
Woods?
Saw.
Yeah, very Cabin in the Woods, just without the fucking.
I think
Supernatural.
Cabin in the
Supernatural.
Woods is one of the greatest movies in that
It's
I
the
had
perfect
no
bait and switch.
fucking idea what it was about, and then you're just
You're
like,
so right.
you're just like, what the fuck?
Where the fuck did the control room come from?
Yeah.
Fuck.
That's a great reveal.
Yeah,
It-
and Chris Hemsworth's in it.
he's fantastic at it.
He's
Can
so
we do like a Survivor version of that though? You know, like Survivor Horror, and Jeff Probst is hosting it, like a Survivor game, but all based on horror, and whoever like taps out first loses.
Fucking fantastic. Yeah, like you horror theme it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be a lot of fun. Rob, what about you?
So for me, I'm gonna okay. So you guys have all seen Ghostbusters, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
So the original Ghostbusters wasn't supposed to be the way the Ghostbusters that we got was, right? So Dan Aykroyd originally wanted it to be in the future where Ghostbusters were almost like the world was like a lot more supernatural and a lot more
Oh, they're like exterminators.
and they were like almost like exterminators, right? And it was like a regular job kind of thing. It was almost like a private eye, right? Job in the future, right? And I think if they took his original premise of what he wanted Ghostbusters to be, but turned into a serial series, that would be cool.
That
Like
would
a take on X-Files, like a modern X-Files.
Kind of, right? But and it would be like in the future, but the future wouldn't be as squeaky clean as we wanted it. Maybe it had a little Blade Runner-esque in it, and almost kind of film noir kind of feel. But it was almost like serial, kind of like almost like the Rockford Files or
or Twilight Zone
or Columbo or something like that. Like so you almost made it almost more like it was like a detective story, but like a Ghostbusters. I think that would be kind of a cool premise.
I think that would be you could make that as dark or as light as you wanted. You could you could take from actual, like you could do what 911 does.
Just so you guys know, in 5 years this is going to be a TV series because somebody's going to listen to this and be like, "Oh, that's a fucking great idea."
Yeah, there's a trademark on our website. We're all good. So if you
Yeah, but I'm actually taking like Dan Aykroyd's original work.
we can just call him. He's Canadian.
Yeah, he'll probably. Yeah, he'll just want a small piece.
Yeah, right. Like
Yeah.
that's all they want. Just
Yeah.
credit for the time.
Little piece.
I would totally watch. That'd be on like Sci-Fi or something. I think that would be like a really, and that's like, you know what that is? That Sci-Fi horror, which is like Event Horizon. right? Like,
I love sci-fi horror. Like, if there's 3 horror movies that I love, it would be Alien, The Thing, and Event Horizon.
And Terminator.
the best movie ever made.
It's a horror movie.
How is it a horror movie?
Machines take over the world and start killing humans.
That
How's
only-
that not a horror movie?
That only scares you because you're in IT.
I thought that was sci-fi.
Haven't you seen the clips of the woman who was sleeping and the fucking Roomba started eating
Uh,
her hair? And-
Well, yeah.
Yeah, he
'cause
sent me the
I
fucking
I
meme.
shared the meme.
yeah, exactly. See? It's fucking, it begins.
It begins. Have you seen It Follows?
No.
That's one of the best movies about sexual
Oh,
assault.
I
being-
thought that's when the guy's dick gets stuck in a sex robot.
no. It Follows is on Prime.
That's coming.
It's Aaron told me to watch it. Aaron Dole told me to watch this movie. I finally watched it. Jimmy's watched it.
What's it called?
It Follows.
What's it about?
It's sexual assault is the protagonist, antagonist. Sorry, sexual assault is the horror in
As
the
a
show.
being?
As a being, as a being. That's all I'm going to say. It will. It is.
Is
one
it
of-
like It?
No. And it's not the follow up to
2014,
because
eh?
it's following. It was really. It's a psychological fuck as well too. Like it'll take you. It
A young
scares
woman
you.
is followed by an unknown supernatural force after a sexual encounter. So what's the sexual encounter? Like,
It's a rape.
is she raped by a person or
Yes.
like? Oh, okay.
So it's basically PTSD.
No,
Okay.
something gets transferred in the rape.
Um,
So it's using the horror of a rape to show what it can do to a person on a lot of other
So it's almost
levels.
like an evil spirit or
Yes.
a demon goes into
Yes.
her.
Yes.
What was the movie where the fucking spirit jumps from person to person?
I was just thinking that it has Denzel Washington.
And they
in it.
start singing that song
Yeah,
that you can
and it
tell
has,
where
Oh
Uh,
shit! And what the little blonde girl, right?
Yeah.
the guy gets electrocuted and then it jumps from.
Yeah.
And remember,
Deja vu?
he goes out into that. No, it's not deja vu. He goes out into that cabin where he hopes that there's nobody there, and then the guy's still able to go into like an animal.
Yeah.
Oh fuck!
Oh.
Okay, well we're fast approaching the end here, and I want to save some stuff for the rest of the month for our listeners, so that we don't gas out too soon, because horrors doesn't have enough to talk about. So yearly horror watches. It's the month of October. Everybody has one of those that they like to watch. So as a sign off, this is what we wanted to let you guys know that you should start with for your month of horror movies for the month of October. So Martin, we'll start with you. What's a classic horror movie in your wheelhouse, motherfucker?
Scream. I always like watching that at least once a year during Halloween time. So I'm definitely a Wes Craven fan. So
The original.
recommend that.
What's your favorite part of it? What's your favorite thing about Scream?
I just like that they. My favorite part is they cast Drew Barrymore. She was in all the posters, and when and then all of a sudden, spoiler alert, she's like the first one to get killed. I thought she was like the main character. Turns out she's not. So I like that little bait and switch there that they do.
It is one of the most notorious movies to see that happen right out of the gate. Like that wasn't a thing you do. You don't take a big name and
I
and
love
them-
when that happens.
right, yeah, because it flips everything. You don't know what to expect anymore because that's part of the system. That's part of how it all gets made. So yeah, Scream 1, 2, 3, and 4. The Scream series is coming out soon, I believe.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, have you watched it? Is it already out?
No, not the Scream series. I was going to say just the whole
1 through 4.
the IP of
Do
Scream.
you like scary movies?
I love too that it was
Do you
it's
like
scary,
Ulrich?
but the bad guy could you could throw a chair at him and he'd get hurt and it would stop him for a bit. Like it was more realistic. Like when the guy's wearing the Scream mask and going at you, you can kick him in the nuts and it would stop him for a bit. Rather than Michael Myers would just be like fucking deadpan, like nothing.
Totally, yeah. There was some realism to it. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't a scary supernatural figure. It was just a scary
Yeah.
asshole kid. What about you, Mike?
You know what? I keep it light because I don't like horror movies very much. But I'd be like a Beetlejuice. Like
yeah. Some comic humor.
Yeah.
Comic
but still
humor, same thing.
the world of the dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice.
Said, yeah. On this note, we actually tried, Chrissy and I, like 3 years ago, we watched the original Halloween because it was out. Talk about how slow movies were in the 80s compared to now.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a scene where they're in the hospital and Mike Myers is chasing a nurse down the hallway and the scene lasts like 10 minutes.
You can thank the movie Keanu Reeves was in, Speed. That was
Things things up.
Well, it's true because that's the first movie where it was nonstop action from the beginning to the end, and it really readjusted the cadence of movies after that.
I almost couldn't get scared at watching the original Halloween because it was so slow.
You need to watch it. You have to watch it in the dark.
The zombie
on 1.5 speed.
The zombies running in
World War Z.
well, no, the one not
Night
the
of the
trap
Night of the
stars.
Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead. The movement of zombies before zombies learned how to run. I mean, build tension, sure, but I got to get home to my fucking dinner.
You weren't.
like,
Those weren't the scariest scenes in that movie. The
No.
scariest scenes in that movie are when somebody's stuck in a. They're cornered in a room that they can't get out of, and the zombies are literally coming in every possible way to get in and out of that
and
room.
then the shots of them pulling the flesh
Totally.
off. And,
That's the
and-
part that's
yeah.
fucked up. Because in that situation, it's no different than being burnt to death or drowning.
Sure, yeah, I could see how that's compared.
Because it's an impossible.
You are alive when they try to eat you.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's in the go, not so much the process. All right. So Beetlejuice, Scream. Rob, what about you?
Mine's not a horror movie. Mine's just a great movie that I think is themed for Halloween and this time of the year.
Yeah.
And that's Lost Boys.
Ooh,
Vampire movie. It's a horror movie.
vampires.
Yeah, man. It's a classic fucking vampire movie.
Sexy teen vampires.
I guess it is a
but,
horror
you know.
movie.
Yeah.
It is.
I guess I consider it more of a fantasy kind of thing.
Stakes to the heart.
Yeah,
Garlic.
holy water.
Holy water. Crosses.
Corey Feldman.
Yeah.
Fucking. What's his name?
If you would have said
Corey.
Twilight, it's a little different.
Corey Haim.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Lost Boys.
It's this movie with vampires and werewolves and it's
Glitter.
Twilight.
and they shimmer in the light. Another gooder that's newer is that's I like watching, especially if you like the psychological, is Get Out.
Oh yeah, that was good.
I hear it's
You
good.
haven't seen Get
No,
Out?
but
Get
I
Out
hear
is
it's
fantastic.
You need to see it. Yeah, Jordan Peele is a fucking genius.
Isn't it weird how like a comedic guy is like this genius horror director?
It doesn't
now?
surprise me at all. It's I think there's a misconception that comedians can't do drama, and I think if you look at the classic sense from a Shakespearean perspective, you know, the same actors would do the dramatic Shakespeare and would do the comedies, and they would interchange the roles perfectly because the sign of a good actor was that you could do comedy and drama.
I see the acting part. I
Hence
just
range.
Who knew that a sketch comic really had such a mind for psychological thrillers?
It's pretty cool,
and-
actually,
yeah.
when you think about it.
Also, the Twilight Zone that he was doing on Fox too. Like
Oh yeah.
he's got a lot to offer. That
Well, he did that other movie where
his wife is
family,
hilarious.
The family has the other family.
Oh,
Ma.
dude. Us.
Us. That's it. Yeah.
Us,
Ma
yes.
was also fucked up
I
too.
didn't like Ma at all. I thought it was
Yeah.
I thought it was shitty.
Um,
I thought it was predictable. I thought it was I don't know. That's just my 2 cents.
I gotta pull out.
I knew exactly how every scene in Ma was going to play out 20 minutes into the movie. That's just I don't know. I just felt like it wasn't.
I gotta find the name of mine because I completely forgot
That's
to write
okay.
it down. It's M. Night Shyamalan, and it's not
The
Village.
Sixth Sense.
No, it's neither of those.
Signs.
It's
Old.
yes, no, not old. No. The
Oh,
one,
is it the one where the sun dancers
No.
like they go like the
no? Fuck. Oh,
where
God.
like their grandparents were killed by these other 2 people and then picked up?
Yes,
Yeah.
that one. What's that one?
I can't-
What's
I
the
can't-
one that nobody knows?
I can't remember. I saw it in the theater. It's freaky, and there's that one scene where they're like under the not in the basement, but in the crawl space, and the grandma's like crawling around like on her back, kind of like Exorcist style. And you're like, what the fuck is going on?
The Visit.
The Visit.
The Visit.
I
And
don't
he
know
that
produced
one
it.
at
He
all.
didn't direct it. Okay, so 2 siblings become increasingly frightened by their grandparents' disturbing behavior while visiting them on a vacation. When you watch it the first time, and if you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it for you because
I already spoiled it.
You don't have to spoil it because Rob already did.
Go on.
I just love how when you watch it the second time, you're like, it's a fucking comedy. Like it doesn't like it just changes 100%.
But that's the way those kind of movies are typically. When you
There's-
know how it's going to end,
Oh my God.
how you when you watch it again, it's different.
it's just so scary, and then it's not, and it was just so brilliant in that, like, you really do think that these 2 old people are hunting these kids, like they've stolen them, and then you find out that it's just this big ruse, and then you go back and do a second pass at it. So if you've never seen this movie, go watch The Visit. It's a new suggestion of mine. I was going through a list, and then I was like, man, yeah, no, that's definitely.
Now, can I ask you a question? Is that
Yeah.
part of your yearly annual tradition? Do you like to
It
watch
is now. It is
Okay,
now
that's cool.
because it still creeps me out, and I like to go through the phases of scare. Like I like to be jump scared, and then I like to be like fucking tension scared, and then I like to be grossed out scared, and then I like
to be freaked out scared more. You know, where like a scene's so freaky, usually with ghosts, where like I almost have a tear come out of my eye. That's the kind of scenes I like.
I guess like it would be one I'd visit every year too.
Oh,
yeah.
It's pretty cool. I like this.
Do you like the new one or do you like the original TV series?
The
The
you
new,
know what, the
dude,
new one.
The new one's really fucking good.
I like the new one. I think, yeah.
Like Tim Curry was good, but fuck what's it? I can't remember the guy.
Not Alexander.
he-
Pete's no Skarsgård.
But it's
Stalin, Alan, Peter.
it's the younger brother.
Yeah, it's the younger brother who's like the tallest one. He's like 6'3". Oh my god.
But he's not Eric.
It's no it and it too were it was and I mean for $30 million I think. No, $70 million they made that for, and it made like
It was cool.
700
It was pretty
million.
cool.
Like it was a success.
I watched
for-
the first one on my flight to Korea, and I watched it when like all the lights are out and the whole fucking thing and everyone's sleeping. It freaked the fuck out of me. I
Just
just
see
wanna
him
say
crawl
that.
up behind
Oh, dude, yeah, it's just-
Georgie.
I had to pause the
Georgie!
movie partway through to go use the bathroom where there was actually I could see the light outside.
The house in the second one is that like we talked that I want to do that horror house as like a that would be my no holds barred fucking
Oh yeah.
do it haunted house that's like it.
That's
but with
cool.
all the like the giant like him with the fucking spider legs and then giant it like you know giant Pennywise and all those different things.
You should throw the mist in there too, just for fucking shits and giggles.
Well, gentlemen, I would love to extend this further, but unfortunately the time has arrived where we have to leave all of our lovely listeners another week. So thank you to everybody who's listened. In the show notes, there's a couple ways you can support if you love what you've just heard, or if you like it too. You can do that. Don't feel it's like or love. There's a donation tab and there's a shop tab. Mark, what can they buy at our shop tab?
Stuff, shirts, and I believe you can get a pair of shoes with our faces on the bottom.
Yep.
There's
Can you really get that?
They can,
there's
yeah.
ball gags.
Yeah, ball gangs.
Coming soon.
Our own line of barbecue condiments, I believe.
No, those
Can
still
we,
those are still in R&D.
I would also like us to have a glove that comes with 6 fingers.
Okay, we can do that.
Can
We
we-
for the six-fingered man.
Yeah, yeah,
for sure.
Can
yeah,
can we do that?
yeah. No, that.
But
that-
only one of the gloves has 6 fingers. The other one is the normal 5.
Sure, I think we could. I mean, I could ask my mom to make that, and then we could just sell it and sell it.
Your mom's just gonna be like fucking pumping these out.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I'm gonna keep her. I'm gonna sweatshop my mom.
knitting
Yeah.
6-fingered gloves.
Six-fingered gloves. Yes, whatever Mark just said. You can buy all that.
You can
stuff
buy
there.
everything.
You can buy everything.
You know
there.
what? In this world nowadays,
Yeah.
if we don't make it, we'll 3D print it for you and stick a label on it.
Yeah, my stepdad, my mom will
Or it'll
make the
take 6 to 8
gloves.
months to come from China because supply chains are fucked.
Yeah, well, no, we'll go local. My mom will make the gloves. My dad has a 3D printer, so we'll get him to 3D
Your
print.
dad has a 3D printer?
Yeah.
For what? Sex toys?
See the Boba Fett and the Yoda up there? I got two
You
little.
can make anything.
You can make anything these days. So yeah, like Mark said, if you want
Can
to,
we do a scan of my? Never mind.
you can call him. I'll give you his number. But if you also feel so inclined to donate, like pocket change and shit, that goes into production costs. That just covers monthly subscriptions and whatnot. Makes the show better. Lets us buy more things, sound better. Maybe do video. All that stuff goes.
If you're
into
listening to
that.
this and you're a local business,
yeah. What
you
he
can
said too.
also approach us for sponsorship. Cheap.
Super cheap. Like
I have no problem drinking your drink only or eating your food only or you
yeah, or recommending your product only.
know,
Like,
100%.
we're totally down for
Yeah,
the
pour us
sickness
out.
in that. So
I mean, we'll do a background check of your company to make
yeah,
sure that you have the
there are forms.
the proper morals.
meet our stringent criteria.
Yeah, we don't. If
carbon footprint and stuff.
all that. Yeah, ethics
if,
and all that
yeah,
shit.
if your business has a, anyway.
Yeah, well, and right where we're talking right now, we'll be thanking you instead of rambling on. So,
That's right.
So there's the donation tab, the prop shop tab, and then to any local sponsor, yes, contact us.
Insert your great product here.
Reach us at thereeldebaters@gmail.com. Follow us on everywhere. The Reel Debaters on TikTok, at Reel Debaters on Twitter and Instagram. This week I have been scared, and I have been Michael. Rob.
Mark.
I'm Jimmy Skinner. No, I'm Rob Strachan.
Mark.
Mark. Just Mark.
And out in Vancouver.
I have been Ray Liotta's record collection.
Watch all the movies, kids. We're going to go now. So, bye-bye.
Bye.
Remember, say bye.
Well,